Warning. Channel Robozoid contains adult language, adult content, strong opinions, and verbal brutality. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, it is me, the Robozoid, once again, and I have to do this video because I thought this would be kind of entertaining. Yes, we do have to talk about serious topics, like the Southern Poverty Law Center, basically with their money actually being funded not to fight racism or to battle against the Ku Klux Klan. Is it Ku Klux or Klu Klux? It doesn't matter. In any case, instead of fighting the Ku Klux Klan, which the Southern Poverty Law Center is supposed to be doing, it's actually funding them. It's actually fueling racism. And of course, basically you had a dust-up like this on the 5 the other day, in which you had Greg Guttfeld and Jessica Tarlov, really going at it. I mean, to the point where Jessica herself was almost thrown off set. But I think she ended up storming off set alone, pretty much without being needed to be escorted out by security. Here's what happened. Take a look.
And it's
what hate crime hoax?
The liberal goes, Justice Smollett, anyone?
No, I didn't
how about
say
the banana
Justice
peel
Smollett.
on the bench?
Yeah,
how about
the Walmart
news
shooter
at the
is a
racetrack?
banana peel. What hoax have you actually seen here? You don't think that hundreds of people showed up at the Unite the Right rally that weren't this informant, that weren't persuaded by his vehicle that got them there?
Who was the informant?
I don't. What?
You don't know. Was it the leader?
I have no idea.
Not a leader.
I have no idea what the fuck Tarlov is talking about.
White supremacists there? That it's not real?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Are you
All I know is I never heard of it until the day that it happened. You act like you can take the word for a bunch of corrupt people.
Proud boys.
So you're saying this wasn't created. You're saying this just was an organic event, just like every left-wing event. It just happened. All these right-wingers showed up. Nobody else knew about it. And you know what? Nobody.
People are real.
Nobody. Okay. You know what?
Let the call to action.
Let me do the simplest analogy. This is like when somebody says, on average, men are taller and way more than women. And then one woman goes, but what about her? And they point to a WNBA player. Yes, Jessica, I'll give you. There probably is a bigot somewhere, but you guys created a false flag that there was this immense movement going on in this country that then put targets on people like Charlie Kirk's back, and he's dead. And a lot of other people were either threatened, physically attacked because of a false flag, which painted an entire, basically, millions of people as white supremacists. You guys ran with it. Imagine if Trump had not won and Kamala Harris had won. Imagine where the SPLC would be now. Imagine how torn apart this country would be. And by the way, I hope that this thing mends, but I don't know, because there are people like you, Jessica, who have such a sunk cost in this belief that this is a belief you were tricked into believing, to think that there's all these racists hiding behind every Cracker Barrel. No, you know where the racists were? They were the anti-racist black activists who saw this as a way to go after whites.
Okay, in a little bit I will play some audio reacting to more of the dust-up between Guttfeld and Tarlov. But first, we have to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center and what it represents. I've already mentioned in the intro that they're supposed to be fighting racism and taking on the Klan, but instead they seem to be funding the KKK and fueling the hatred, not to mention fueling all the talk of racism, which quite frankly could have been handled in a very simple way, as explained by Morgan Freeman, remember?
How are we going to get rid of racism and stop talking about it?
Exactly. Stop talking about it. But some people don't want to stop talking about it. In fact, some people keep adding more fuel to the fire because they're so ignorant and stupid that they just want to keep on going on about racism. And I think this one news clip here from, I believe it's the News Nation, actually demonstrates that, instead of which the Southern Poverty Law Center, or SPLC, instead of doing their job, they're actually making the problem even worse. Just take a look.
Part of, we think, the whole scam, which is to invent it.
Yeah, they demonize an entire generation of young white men as a result of this narrative. But Chris, as we heard, reiterated by Attorney General Blanche, the grand jury found that the SPLC was taking donors' money and then secretly funneling it to members of groups like the Ku Klux Klan. I can imagine that if this were happening on the other side of the aisle, you would be outraged if conservative groups were secretly sending money to the KKK and stoking racism on purpose. So why is it that Democrats can't just say, hey, if you want to get rid of racism, you shouldn't actually fund the people doing the racism?
So a couple things. First, as a former young white male, I never considered myself a white supremacist, so I never
That'll be
was bothered
fine.
when people went after white supremacists. Just for the record.
Will you falsely accused of
second,
being a white supremacist? Because that's what happened.
No, I was not. But you said a whole
Right?
generation of young white men. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to clarify what you said there.
Well, younger than
two,
you, Chris, to be fair.
Two.
As you just said.
Yeah, well, now, but not 30 years ago.
Answer the question.
So
Should you
here's the
fund
thing.
racism if you're trying to get rid of racism?
Of course you shouldn't fund racism, but what they were doing was funding informants within the organization, which, by the way, the FBI and every other law enforcement agency in the United
Well, they're
States
not a law
funds
enforcement
things
agency,
they don't
first of all.
like to
They're not
get
law
informants. Every single one. And they are trying to do their best here. Now, look, here's the thing. Maybe good, maybe a bad indictment. But the Trump administration has shown that they will go after people who have criticized them, and the Southern Poverty Law Center has criticized Trump and his allies. So there's a lot of fire here when it comes to that claim, and that is the problem right now. I also read the indictment, and I got to tell you, I think this segment is going to be longer than that indictment will last once it's in front of an actual judge.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
A little while later.
Gone after the Southern Poverty Law Center, but not the KKK. They've gone after the people, the civil rights organizations, but not the actual extremist groups.
Actually, they have gone after the Ku Klux Klan. You're just too dumb and bald to understand
They're
that.
on the side of the extremists, it feels like.
No, they're on the side of racists and
What is it with black baldies anyway?
And they have been from the very beginning because that's what Donald Trump has always nurtured himself. Bottom line.
Now, of course, as mentioned earlier, I wanted to react to some more of what was being said on the 5. This time, the accusations are not coming from Greg Guttfeld, but are actually coming from the moderator himself, the man in the middle, and that would be Jesse Waters, as Jessica Tarlov, still pretty much has a lot to answer for. And if you liberals think that they're all just ganging up on her and bullying her, boy, have you got another thing coming. Because I'll tell you what, in fact, what Jessica Tarlov is bitching about and why she is totally wrong on this subject. So without further ado, what do you say we roll it?
A black man doesn't care that the group sent $1 million to the neo-Nazis?
No, because he's not pro-black, he's pro-Democrat.
No, because he's not pro-black at all. He's actually pro-Democrat. Michael Steele, he couldn't care less about his own heritage. It's basically putting party before personal issues, putting party before skin color, I guess.
Wizard, he doesn't care. They also don't care that the group committed bank fraud, wire fraud, and defrauded all their donors. Don't care. As long as they smeared Republicans. Doesn't matter. The ends justify the means. I'm beginning to think the
absolute
entire
fact
Party is a whole scam. What is it really about? Stealing money, flooding the country with illegals, and calling us racists. That's it. Every time
facts, absolute facts.
You look under the hood, all you find are scams. COVID. Wait a second. Fauci funded the lab where the virus came from?
Right. What happened to the solar panels? Where's the internet? What happened to all that? What happened to net neutrality? What happened to controlling what people see and hear on the internet? What happened to all that crap? The Democrats are just really good actors. They're really good actors because they are very well-paid liars. And also they're frauds. They are a scam. Everything about the Democrats is a complete and utter scam. And so why would anybody even vote for these assholes? That's my question. Why are you still voting for these communist bastards that hate this country anyway and don't want to do anything for the betterment of the American people, but instead only want to better themselves? That's the whole point of the thing. The Democrats don't give a fuck about you. Oh, pardon my fucking language. But nevertheless, they don't care a shit about you one way or another. The truth is, all they care about is themselves and empowering themselves. Just like the Southern Poverty Law Center. They don't give a shit about racism. They want to keep it going. Keep that money rolling in for themselves because they just can't get enough of it. This has been the Robozoid, of course, basically saying, hey, if you enjoyed this video, and I'm sure that you did, well, remember to smash that like button, and also, of course, well, subscribe to this channel on both YouTube and Rumble. It would be really, really nice. And remember, you're helping this channel. You're helping me, not financially. I don't make a penny out of this shit. I guess there are no pennies anymore. Okay, I don't make a dime from these videos, but nevertheless, let's just say that, yeah, wokeness is weakness, something the left never learn, and the Southern Poverty Law Center is a very far left organization created by the Democrats. And also, much like the Democrats, those people are nowhere, which is what you would be if you don't tune in. So be here or be absolutely nowhere.